Axis and Allies fans, and welcome back. This is NATO with the update for the spring of 1955 for our Cold War scenario. And starting from left to right, my CIA agents are continuing to kick Viper's butt, and I found another one of Viper's KGB agents in Chicago and took him out. She wasn't very happy about that, for obvious reasons. And then with England, I just continued building their nuclear program and moved their heavy water nuclear reactor up one more stage on the production chart. France had my first battle in Algeria. Remember, Algeria has rebelled against me, controlled by Viper. We had our first fight, and France actually came out on top. I took down about twice as many Algerians units as I lost, so and I put down France's first mechanized units for the scenario. Be sending those to Algeria to make use of their greater firepower. Bringing the survivors of Vietnam ever closer. They're about to go through the straits. Italy put down a destroyer, build up their fleet. Germany continued to build their fleet, put down a second destroyer with them. Viper, she went helicopter crazy and she put out Viper's new Mi-8s are there. She put one in Leningrad, another in another in Romania, and then another one in the Sudetenland. Let's see. And then the Second Vietnam War has kicked. Me and Viper are both starting to build up our forces in Vietnam. Viper started an airfield, and I just put more units in South Vietnam. Viper's continuing construction on our major factory, and she started moving all of her Chinese forces south, probably for when I have the option to intervene in Vietnam directly with America down the road. I put down a transport with Japan, and I finished my airfield on Guam. And I moved my B-47 to pick up the remainder of my American forces in Korea. Then I moved the fleet that was stationed off of Korea. I moved it back to San Francisco to basically just facilitate my upgrades. I put down another B-47 for more air transport capabilities, and I replaced my first strategic bomber, so my first F-104 Starfighter got put out. And then Anzac Anzac I kept working on my nuclear reactor, put it another tick down the construction chart. And so that was about it for the turn. So the new thing that can happen now is Viper can actually start her space program. She can start working on her cosmonauts. So for her, she has a two-stage process. Her first stage is figuring out which city is going to be heading the research and development for it. because historically Russia never put their space program under one organization like the United States did with NASA. Russia's space program was a kind of a chaotic mess of multiple organizations all competing for resources and prominence. So what she has to do is she has to roll a d12 for every city in Russia minus Moscow. And after 2 turns, the city with the highest number gets the nod from the Kremlin, and that will complete the first phase. And then she can start working on the second phase, which is actually building the launch site and then, you know, working on the race to the moon. The new thing that we've added to the Cold War is the space race and the actual race to the moon. So Russia gets a head start because historically they did, but like I stated earlier, they didn't coordinate their efforts under a single organization like we did with NASA, so they get a head start, but it's going to take them longer to get their crap together and on track. So we'll see which city gets the nod in the next couple turns, and we'll explain second phase when it happens for Viper, and the pro is, you know, the first one of us to make it to the moon gets a permanent place for the rest of the Cold War. The downside is, you know, whatever city gets whatever city gets the contract, she will lose the production for that territory, because it'll all be siphoned off to the very expensive space race. So, from Viper's perspective, hopefully whichever city gets a contract, it's the city with the lowest production value. But that's about it for this turn, so we'll come back next turn with what happened. So thanks for watching, we'll see you then.
Welcome back, Axis and Allies players, and welcome back to YouTube, and welcome to the newly reformed War Room of the Nest. So here we have the game. We'll have NATO kind of back up, and I'm going to back up too, so you can kind of see the open space we have here. I don't know, NATO, can you get the table in there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you can see where I'm at versus there. That's about a good 25 to 30 foot spread, so that we do have the tables. No limit, you get to sleep here, and then we'll put somebody else in the spare bed. This is where we upload our YouTube videos over here, but more importantly, this is where we are building up to the Cold War. So all of our rules are out there except a couple. We're keeping a couple tricks up our sleeve, but we're going to talk about that here in just a second. So I have NATO come over here to the side. We can focus on the board and tell you guys where everything stands. America right now is building up their stuff, and they are still working on transferring their units up to their upgrades. Down here in Argentina, find my words, Argentina is still building up their stuff until they have no more funding when Russia decides to turn their eyes to Cuba. Here in England, up here in the north, they have finished their heavy water facility, and they are going to be working on their uranium mine sooner rather than later, coming back down into Africa. The Algerian War is kicking off. Algeria did attack France. There were some heavy blows going back and forth, and France decided to land some stuff, including their bomber, or their little tactical bomber right there. Down here in the south, in South Africa, NATO did win the influence role, and they have moved their way up here to, on the map it says Portuguese East Africa, but this is Zimbabwe, and Russia, KBG, is getting that influence. And then back up here to Libya, the NATO nations and CIA are working on their influence here in Libya. Over here, the Arab-Israeli war is fixing to kick off. This is going to be a lot of fun because NATO has to take Cairo. And if NATO takes Cairo, I am not going to be a very happy Viper. So I guess you guys will have to find out here in about 2 turns. Is it 2 turns? Mm-hmm. 2 turns if NATO takes Cairo. Continuing on up, here is our little pet project. Russia has started their space program. So the space program we do not have loaded because we're still kind of finiting those rules out for that. But part of that is deciding which city gets to build it. Right now, Smolensk is on the win for that. We get one more roll of a D12 to find out which city is going to actually build the space program there. So that's where that stands. Coming back over here, further to the east. Things are kind of calmed down here. China's kind of building things and not really at the same time. Japan is doing what Japan does. They save their money so that they can build up more stuff. Anzac is building up more stuff here. And I'm keeping a very close eye here. This is Guam. This is Guam. This is NATO. This is Vietnam. You guys figure it out from there because you have the history here of North and South Vietnam, and that war is kicking off when what the hell's his name? Ho Chi Minh had a little hissy fit, and he didn't like it that the elections were stopped after the 1 year of the peace treaty. And so he said, well, the peace treaty says that we're supposed to unite, so I'm going to invade your ass. So South Vietnam is now at war with North Vietnam, and we're going to see how that takes place. Other than that, there's not really much going on. Oh, yeah, Australia is still working on their nuclear reactor, and that is now in staging phase 3. And the next round, it will actually go out and be placed in Australia. Other than that, that's pretty much it. Again, keep an eye out for when NATO decides he's going to attack Egypt and try to take Cairo. We're going to see how that works out. A couple more videos going to be coming up soon. No, I'm not putting the space program up on the website, not anytime soon, because again, we need to finite those rules and make sure they're going to work out right. So overall, I hope you guys like the place. This is our spare bedroom, but I'm still putting it together. That's my office. Other than that, I hope you guys like everything. We'll see you guys around. Thanks for watching, and thanks for visiting the nest.
Hello, Axis and Allies friends. Welcome back to the nest. This is NATO, and we got another update, and we are at the spring of 1956, and the big event for this turn is Russia can start building its Baikonur facility in Kazakhstan. It's completed its bid for who's going to do the research, which city is going to do the research, and the winner was Smolensk. And the city will matter once the Baikonur facility is completed, and we'll jump off that bridge when we get to it 4 turns down the road, because it's a $20 facility with $5 installments, 4 or $5 installments. So it'll be 4 turns, I can count. 4 turns down the road before that's completed, and that's when the city will matter. So we'll jump off that bridge when we get to it. In other news around the world, America, as America, I've completed upgrading all my tactical bombers. So we're using a tablet, not a dedicated camera, so it's a little hard to see, but because the more I zoom in, the fuzzier it gets. But that's the F-104 Starfighter sitting on the back end of the carrier right there. That's still the F-86s. I haven't finished completely upgrading that. Algeria is going better for France than Vietnam ever did. With Algeria being a lot closer, I'm able to reinforce it a lot quicker, so I'm able to keep up a much more steady presence than I could in Vietnam, much to Viper's frustration. Europe hasn't really changed all that much. Italy put down another destroyer, and that's about it. England started construction of its uranium mine in Ontario, so England is 4 turns away from having nukes, and it will be the first nation other than the United States or Russia to have nukes. My CIA guy in the home countries continue to kick butt. Found another Viper KGB agent and rubbed him and eliminated him. Viper threw something at me. I was able to duck it in time, fortunately. Middle East hasn't really changed. North Vietnam invaded South Vietnam for the first time. And that went fairly evenly for both of us. The exodus from the Korean Peninsula continues. South Korea is now completely devoid of any American troops. I've either moved them back to the States or to Guam, which all that is sitting in Guam right now. I've started replacing my fighter squadrons, so you can see the first of the F4 Phantoms sitting there. The first of the new tanks is out, right there. And that's pretty much it. This turn, Viper will be able to begin construction of the Baikonur launch facility in Kazakhstan, and that's the second phase of her space program. Once she's completed that, she can start moving towards the space race, and whichever one of us reaches dear old Luna first wins and gets that 5 IPC bonus for the rest of the Cold War. So, other than that, that was about it. Oh, and Zach completed its nuclear reactor. So it is a uranium mine away from having nukes as well. And that's it. So we shall do another turn, and we will come back with the update from that. See you then. Hello, Axis and Allies friends. Welcome back to the nest. And we've got the fall of 1956 update. And starting from the left and working our way right. That seems to be the best way of me doing it so I don't forget stuff. I've more or less completed the upgrade for America's air fleet, whether it be fighters or tacticals or whatever. So I'm going to start working on tanks and other things. England started its uranium mine in Ontario. I think that was this turn. My father came over and visited, so I haven't actually touched this in about 3 days. So if I'm rehashing something that was in the last video, I do apologize. I can't exactly remember what was last video and what was this turn, because there's been a couple beers in between today and last video, so hope you can forgive me. Let's see, Algeria. Oops, wrong way. Algeria. Hard to say at this moment. Neither. I can't really get a advantage over Viper, and Viper can't really get an advantage over me in Algeria yet. So I could go either way at the moment. Germany, I'm just still building a fleet with Germany, put out a transport. Russia, she's just building tanks and artillery and dudes in Russia. Started Italy's nuclear program. Figure what the hell, get all the NATO nations nuked up for if the worst should come to pass. This turn, one of the new events this turn is the Second Arab-Israeli War kicks off. So it'll be my job to take the Israeli forces and take the Cairo territory right there. And Viper's going to do everything she can to stop me. So we got the showdown in Cairo coming imminently. That could get ugly pretty fast. Vietnam is still pretty dead even. Equal losses and about equal replenishing rates. Probably won't last because you can see North Vietnam's got a little more advanced hardware. She's put down a fighter and a tank, a light tank, but Viper's dropping 20 IPCs into North Vietnam while I'm only dropping 10 into South Vietnam. Kind of banking on the hope that South Vietnam can survive off of $10 until America can intervene. Because that'd just be silly for me not to. Speaking of America, I moved the Pacific Fleet further into the Pacific because it's still a couple turns down the road, but with 1956, America starts intervening in Vietnam mid-1960s, so still got a couple years, but I prefer to be prepared. Japan started its nuclear program as well. We got new sculpt on the board. We got the other way. Got the C-130 cargo plane. The benefit of that is because it's a propeller-driven plane. It can take off and land in any territory. It doesn't have to start and end in an airfield. There's the drawback to the B-47 Stratojet that I was using, though that's been converted to a cargo plane because it's been replaced by the B-52. It can carry more because it's a jet-driven plane. It can only take off and land at territories with an airfield in it, whereas a C-130 can carry less, but it can take off and land anywhere. Oh, and Viper has started construction of her Baikonur facility, the main Russian launch site for their rockets and for their space program. So you can see that on the board. She is starting to build that. And that's about it. We got the main show is the Second Arab-Israeli conflict for the Suez Canal in the Cairo territory. And there is a victory point on the line. And England and France can also intervene on Israel's side to help Israel take it. So that's, if you've been wondering why I've had the British Navy with fully loaded transports sitting off of North Africa all this time, that's why. I don't know if I'm gonna have France intervene or not, because things in Algeria are kind of dicey for me with France right now. For France to intervene in Cairo, that'd pull desperately needed reinforcements away from Algeria. So England definitely. France, I don't know yet. Guess it'll kind of depend on how well Israel's attack goes. So that will depend whether or not I need one or both England and France to intervene as well. So, and it might cause a real world war between me and my wonderful wife because there's a victory point on the line. So that could be interesting. So stay tuned. Keep an eye out for the next video because there could be a real world war between Viper and NATO. So we'll see you then. And because I always forget something, if you're wondering why if there's 4 neutral infantry sitting right in the middle of those Russian units, it's because Hungary also revolts this turn. So Viper has a revolt she has to put down on top of the Cairo showdown. So this is the 1956 Hungarian Revolt, and so while that revolt is ongoing, Viper does not get any production from Hungary, so she's taken a 2 IPC hit. That being said, she has substantial Russian units all around the area, so I'm sure she can wipe those 4 infantry out in one go. So that will also be another conflict going down this turn is Viper with her Russian cronies actually get to fight something. Also, my CIA agent in the United States is continuing to be a beast, and I've found Viper's KGB agent in Chicago and eliminated him as well. So that should be everything. So we will see you with the conclusion of Hungary and the conclusion to the Second Arab-Israeli War and the fight over Cairo. See you then.